Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Hustling Muscle Show. Welcome, everybody. And yes, today we are doing a session after a gap with Gauri Shengote, and we are going to be talking about hereditary diseases and nutrition. Let's see how nutrition can help us with our hereditary diseases. We all are blessed with some other hereditary diseases. Some are not, but some of us are. Let's see how Gauri and nutrition can help us. Let me see if I can patch Gauri through. I see Gauri, and I think she's joining us from this. Okay, I send a wave out to her, and this should be an interesting session. Yes, Gauri, I have also accepted it. You can join in. A very good evening, Gauri. I hope you're doing well.
Hi, Pratik. Yes, I am doing very well. I hope you are too. Long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've been the busy one, not me. Okay, now let's get started. Okay, I look good now. I'm happy with this.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I was a camera adjustment time. Okay, I didn't know. I would have done something. It's my hair. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can't do anything about your hair. Let's be true.
I know. Okay, yeah, that's true too.
There's a very one simple thing about hair. Till you have it, it's great. It's just, becomes bad when you start losing it.
That's it. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Okay, now Gauri, we are talking about hereditary diseases and nutrition. How you as a nutrition can help us. Some of us get hereditary diseases, are blessed with it, I would say. Some of us are not. Now, you please explain to us. Okay, let me go to the first question directly. Hereditary diseases. How can nutrition help us lower the disease risk even when our genes are working against us? Okay, can nutrition help us reduce the hereditary diseases?
Absolutely. Yes, the answer to that is absolutely yes. There are so many diseases that we get genetically that are passed on from our parents to us. Those diseases are basically ones that don't show symptoms straight away. So when a child gets a genetic disease and they have they show the symptoms of those diseases early on, those are things that have to be managed symptomatically. But there are diseases or conditions that are genetically are based on the genes, like diabetes, obesity. There are some other lifestyle based diseases that you can get, are at a higher risk for if your parents have it. So when it comes to nutrition, yes, nutrition plays a huge role on how a person can help to prevent it. Can it be prevented forever? We don't know that yet. Can it be warded off or kept off for as long as possible? Yes, through diet and exercise. Again, nutrition is just one component of it. The other component is the expenditure of calories, or how you're going to put out those calories. That's the
But
exercise.
it can help us have a roadmap, especially for
Absolutely.
somebody with diabetes in their family. Somebody knows,
Right.
okay, my parents are diabetic, I have a very good chance. So, they can take those precautions beforehand. Okay. So
Exactly.
that's something it's very well communicated. Okay. Can heredity issues affect our digestive system? How does genetic affect our immune system, and how can nutrition help us here? See, digestive system is a problem with a lot of people have.
You're right.
Okay,
Right.
let it be, IBS, let it be piles. There is so many problems which carry forward, things like that. So,
Right.
explain this. How can nutrition help us here? How can it help our digestive system? How can it help our immune system?
So, nutrition helping the digestive system and immune system, we've already spoken about it in a couple of other, videos. But when it comes to talking about how genetically we are affected by, digestive issues. Now, let's take a simple thing like lactose intolerance. Okay. If you're lactose intolerance, there is a genome that is, genetic gene that is specific to lactose intolerance. When you, if you have that, or if it's passed down, and having milk over a period of time, depending on the severity of that intolerance or sensitivity, you can either not tolerate fluid milk, but you can tolerate things like dahi, ice cream, and paneer and those kind of things, or you can be absolutely intolerant and get triggered and have symptoms, or various symptoms when it comes to having milk or milk products in general. So that is when the disease manifests. Okay, and this is a genetic backend. Same thing with something like celiac disease. Now, a lot of people is talking about gluten free, but gluten free diets are actually specifically used for people with celiac disease who cannot um, process the gluten, the protein in wheat and wheat based products. Okay, so that is what we primarily use gluten-free diets for. It is not just, today somebody said it's a gluten-free diet, so you should go on it. It's meant for somebody with a genetic issue like celiac disease.
That's
So
a
when
good
people,
point, guys, out there. If you listen, especially a lot of people saying gluten free, gluten free, there's a specific audience for that. So Gauri has clarified that. So yes, you can carry on, Gauri. Yeah.
yeah, so lactose intolerance, celiac disease, these are they have genetic basis. Now, based on that, nutrition comes in a role where when you know there are certain foods or components of foods that are irritating you or have an impact on the person's well-being, though it's very easy to eliminate it. Okay, so that's where the nutrition role comes in. We understand, we identify, when it's diagnosed, we know how to eliminate that component or that food out of the diet. But things like, say, gluten, there are lots of products out there. I mean, now you get a lot of gluten-free products, but before this sudden boom came out, there were a lot of products that had wheat in it. So people had to be educated. That's where nutrition and nutrition education comes in, where we educate people where to find, what to do, how to read a label, so you know that this product has wheat products in it and it could possibly trigger your celiac disease, or this has so much of milk solids and it could possibly trigger your lactose intolerance. So we take all of that into consideration when nutrition comes into play with digestive diseases,
See, yeah, there's a
digestive issues.
very important point Gauri has made. But understanding the products you're taking, understanding, what's there in the label, how to actually read the label. At times, the information given in the label is with twists and turns. So actually
Right.
understanding it is something you need a, professional, a technical person to explain things to you. So that's very important. That's where I think the nutrition education purpose, or
Mm-hmm.
the nutrition education process should come into play. People should start really understanding how to actually just read a paper. People see there's zero trans fat. I think half of them don't understand what trans
What a
fat is.
trans fat is,
So
right?
it's like that, just because the word
And then
fat is
you
there.
butter has more fat. It's worse than ghee, and ghee is better than olive. Worse than olive oil. So there's a lot of comparisons. For that, that's where we
So
come in as educators to dispel all these funky things that are going out
exactly.
over there.
Okay, exactly. So that is where professional like Gauri come into play. You need to understand that, okay, this is good for me, this is bad for me. A lot of people think, okay, fat is bad, you can't have this fat, you can't have
Right.
some amount of fat is required. Like I said yesterday, we require some fat in our bodies. Even to consume, we require a little fat. There's a very simple theory. I remember
Right.
an old time saying, you need calories to burn calories. So always keep that
Absolutely.
in mind, guys.
Very good. Very
Now,
good.
moving on, some hereditary diseases like diabetes, arthritis, obesity. Okay, let's just, Gauri, you can hear me? Okay, I think Gauri, can you hear me?
Sorry, sir. Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I can. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So, as I was saying, diseases like diabetes, arthritis, obesity. Let's just explain to the viewers from a nutrition point of view, how can nutrition help? We touched upon diabetes, but something like an arthritis or obesity, how do you think a person who knows, okay, this is there in my family, can take a precaution?
Oh dear God.
We can hear you, Gauri.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, what is
Yeah.
happening? It's just like standard
Yeah.
procedure for me, I think. Anyway,
Hmm, hmm.
so I get your question. So let's break this down into three parts. Let's take each one of those diseases on their own, and let's simplify. What is diabetes? Okay, when it comes down to diabetes, simple explanation is when you eat food and the food gets broken down and converted into sugar into your system. Okay. Pratik, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. If I can't, I
Hello,
will
can you
tell
hear
you.
me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear
Yeah.
you. I can hear you.
Sorry. When it gets broken down into sugar in your system and in your body is not able to utilize that sugar that is it's broken down into, and then it basically the sugar is just in your blood circulation, and that's where your blood sugar levels are higher, and that's what happens in diabetes. Okay, so that's as simple as that. But it all comes down to the food you eat. So if you have a higher carbohydrate based, simple carbohydrate based meal, your blood sugar is going to be much higher. If you're going to have a mixed meal, means fat, protein, and carbohydrate, complex carbohydrate, you can control your blood sugar. Those kind of things. So nutrition plays a huge role, and especially in things, things like diabetes that have a
Gauri, what would be an
genetic.
example for complex carbohydrate?
Millets are great. Millets either used as in their whole grain capacity or in a flour capacity. Brilliant, brilliant
So
to
you
be used.
understand,
Yeah,
guys, when she says complex carbohydrate, she's talking of something like a millet. Say, Gauri, please carry on.
yeah. So that's about diabetes. Let's come to arthritis. People don't really think about it as oh my God, it's a genetic issue, but it does run into in families, and there are genetic components to it. Uh, and what is arthritis? Basically it is the swelling. It's an inflammatory disease. Okay, so it's basically a chronic inflammatory disease of joints, bones, and other tissues that would basically stop the quality of life, not quality of life, but mobility of a person. So when we talk about nutrition in terms of arthritis, we talk about things like anti-inflammatory foods or superfoods. So things like turmeric. Let's take in our Indian diet, turmeric is a very potent superfood that we use in just about every meal that we eat, right? So that is something over a period of time helps us not be, to help prevent arthritis. Superfoods like ginger, garlic, these are superfoods. Moringa, moringa is a superfood that Indians have been using, or Southeast Asians have been using for literally centuries, and this is a superfood that really helps in ensuring you've got antioxidants, you've got anti-inflammatory components, and it's all helping you to work towards being, at least being able to manage your arthritis better, okay, over a period of time. Now let's come to obesity. Obesity is, very simply put, when your output is far lower than your input. Okay, that means your expenditure of calories or is far lower than your intake of calories. That's very mildly put in terms of nutrition. Okay, it has a genetic component to it. Yes. How does it? How does nutrition help in this entire thing of obesity? Basically, when we look at it in terms of weight gain, and we're looking at weight loss, for obese individuals, we take that component of genetics into consideration, and then we can look at what are enabling factors, what are disabling factors, those kind of things that that are nature versus nurture, meaning nature being the genetics of it, and nurture being the environmental factors that are included. So little things like increasing exercise over a period of time, have changing your dietary or lifestyle components. So dietary component changes. That's where nutrition comes into play in genetic diseases. So this is basically how nutrition would work just about in every disease that has a genetic backing.
So I think
Uh,
Gauri's
uh,
spoken a lot. She's spoken about things like superfoods. Superfoods is something that is catching up in the market like crazy. I know a lot
yeah,
of upcoming brands coming up. I had done
right.
it for Miresi. They are a superfood company. I remember trying the Moringa powder. Moringa
Mhm.
powder is protein, right, Gauri? If I'm not wrong, it's
So it's primarily an antioxidant. The protein component is there.
Huh.
So do you know what moringa is? A lot of people don't even know what what it is.
Drumstick, right?
Drumstick, very good. So drumstick is
She told me before the show, guys. I didn't know.
that's because you asked. Okay. Um, no, so moringa is basically a drumstick tree which grows very readily in Southeast Asia, and you have these long sticks that look like drumsticks, and they have a protein base, a component of protein in it. So yes, they do have, but again, depending on what you're using that product for. So, but it's definitely a superfood.
Okay, okay, yeah, superfoods are catching up. Now, when you assess a person's nutrition pattern, when you do an assessment, when you set a nutrition plan for somebody, you do a lot of digging into the family health history. Why
Right.
is that important? Why do you do that?
Well, okay. So your first question was genetic. Does nutrition help genetics? Yes, but genetics comes from where? What are hereditary diseases? It's your mother's genes and your biological mother, biological father's genes. When they come together, they make you. Okay, so when you are a component of these two people whose genes are being shared, now whatever genetically causing disease components are on those genes of each parent could or could not affect you. That's one. Now, there is a fairly new science in nutrition, a part of nutrition that is Nutrigenomics. They work with genetics and the nutritive relevance in terms of genetics. But I'm not going to get into that because as a clinical dietitian, I don't have access to your genome. I don't have access to, knowing your genetic history and things like that. What I do have access to is you and your parents' history. So when I'm assessing you, it's basically coming down to me asking, like, do any of your parents or have diabetes, heart disease, things like do they have hypertension, obesity, or any other genetically or any other condition that you need to tell me about. So if somebody, oh, my dad is lactose intolerant, so that is something I write down because we know that there is a genetic trait for lactose intolerance. Okay, so they say, oh, my mom was diagnosed just recently with diabetes. Okay, and her blood sugars were out top of the charts. So you take that down. What happens is when you have this family history, in fact, our team also goes to a particular extent of asking about grandparent history, because that also gives us a relevance of how much of genetics plays into it, especially in
But
terms
how
of
much?
weight and lifestyle diseases.
In terms of pattern, how much do you find? Do you find that, okay, as you said, grandparents, parents, do you find that, okay, these traits have come on to the children? How regularly do you see that?
About at least depending on the age group. So it's all based on the age group. The older the individual who's coming to us, the likelihood of them having it is about 80%. 80% especially in lifestyle diseases. So that's quite a bit of a number. So when we're talking about
Lifestyle diseases.
diabetes, when we're
I,
talking, yeah.
I think
So when
these
we're
things
talking
have
about
caught on.
diabetes,
These things have caught on in the 21st century, like, wildfire. I think somehow, I don't
no,
know if I'm
no.
right or wrong, maybe
This is going
towards.
to be a different topic, Pratik, because I can, it's not the 21st century. It is a progression of not just genetics and, our uh, how we've progressed as human beings, but how we've progressed in our eating patterns, our exercise
That's what I'm
patterns,
coming at.
our working
That is what I
patterns.
was.
Yeah.
That is what I'm coming at. Because if you look at if you look at people say the good old days, your traveling means. I remember there was a time having a cycle was a privilege, but today
Right, right.
it's become an exercise. People buy a cycle to go to work, and you
I,
have options. You have options from 5,000 rupee cycles to 5 lakh rupee cycles. So
right, right,
times have
right.
changed. Okay,
Absolutely.
now since we are coming towards, I think, our last question. Okay,
Mhm.
How important are genes when it comes to, a good digestive system, a good gut health? Explain the impact of our genes, on our, on nutrition. How, I'm asking about the gut health. Gut health
So,
is the most important thing.
I've already answered this, but let me bring it down to a very thing. So there are different types of genetic or genetic based hereditary diseases. What happens is some may affect the absorption of certain nutrients that you eat. Let's take, for example, the gluten. Okay, in celiac disease, or the thing, lactose intolerance, absorption and receptor base absorption. So certain nutrients need a lock and key system to get into the cell and be utilized by the body. There, the genetic dysfunction happens at those points where your nutrients are being used. So when we know that a person comes into us and has a genetic backing and is intolerant or has a genetic condition, we immediately know what to eliminate, because that's usually the easiest thing to do, to make sure that the quality of life is better for that individual, is to eliminate that food. But elimination of that food can cause a few disruptions as well. Like if a food is, uh, just because you're taking out gluten, people think you're going to lose weight and things like that. Yes, but you can also add on other complex carbohydrates that give you the other nutrients that you require. Just, so gluten is not necessarily the be all and end all of everything. So, uh, so when it comes to digestive health, if your digestive system, whether it's absorbing, whether it's eliminating, meaning throwing out waste, there are certain diseases where digestion happens perfectly, uptake happens perfectly, but when it comes to the waste products being thrown out of your body, whether it's through the urinary system or through the digestive system, it doesn't happen correctly, and that is the problem. And then you have to look at making sure that the patient or the client is not having that component, and this usually happens with protein based foods. Okay, so you have to basic.
Okay, I think Gauri is having internet trouble. She should be repatching. But yes, I think we guys have this thing of Gauri is showing a different account. I don't know. Okay, I've got a request. I've got a request from her personal account. Let me see if I can add this. Okay, yeah,
Sorry,
Gauri
I
is
touched something
no
wrong.
problem.
I touched something wrong.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, you were saying Gauri.
Yeah, so basically when it comes to nutrition's role in the entire gut system, remember your digestive system depends on your gut health, your circular, basic other systems like your immune system depends on your gut health. So if there are certain foods that are because of genetic traits are not being able to be absorbed or utilized or expelled, then we have to look at it from the nutritional point of view, so that the quality of life, again, it comes down to quality of life, nature versus nurture. So how we can change what has happened by nature, because that's genetics, and how we can change it through the environment, and either adding or eliminating
You
foods.
you were talking about protein just before you left.
Mm-hmm.
The impact of protein with the digestion
So
and all that.
yeah, so right. So a lot of if you go to see, protein plays a huge role in our body, because a lot of the components, even the carrier components, the receptor components, lock and key components, the elimination components, they're all protein based. These are all protein based, and I don't want to get into this crazy scientist mode of mine, but this is all protein based. So,
You
and
already are there.
proteins are also some of the so there are some foods that are triggered by like sugars, so lactose intolerance, so the sugar, lactose, galactose, then there's a bunch of other sugar based malabsorptions that happen.
Okay.
But a lot of them happen because of the protein component, associated with it as well. So protein plays a big role, whether it's good or bad. So,
Okay,
yeah.
tell me this. For people who are on high protein intake, okay, bodybuilders, athletes, what do you suggest for a good digestive? What should they actually be taking? A lot of people ask me this. How much fruits, which particular vegetable is very good, which will help them for the digestion?
Anything that you're willing to eat and you don't have an allergic reaction to. That's the first thing. Straight off.
When you
Okay.
when you
So
say allergic reaction, what do you mean?
allergic reaction, when I talk about allergic reaction, it's basically when you have a sensitivity, and usually that is shown through the digestive system. Okay. If you have a sensitivity, you will have digestive issues like cramping, bloating, gas, diarrhea, or constipation, and a whole bunch of other things. Other malabsorption, you might have diarrhea lasting for weeks and weeks, and you have no idea what's happening. So those are the very common symptoms. There are other symptoms that go in where simple things like the smell of your breath changes in certain conditions, and that person's got a particular condition that you have to take care of. So all these things, when I say allergy, those are things I cannot, just because I don't like something, I cannot be allergic to it. Remember that there's a big difference. Okay, where allergies need to be diagnosed, and they give you a reaction. Like it can be something as simple as making me feel bloated and pukey, to severe rashes, and worse to worse is anaphylactic shock, which we hope never happens. So that is a reaction. There's a big difference between me not liking some foods and me having allergies.
Okay.
When
Now,
I suggest foods for bodybuilders and things like that, things that are in season, fruits and vegetables that are in season, fruits and vegetables will help your digestive system. Okay, they will help the absorption of the protein and the other nutrients that you're taking up.
no, that's
So
absolutely true, because
yeah.
that's something even I have learned, because even I have a large portion of mixed vegetables, things like cauliflower, beans, carrots. I see to it I add cucumber to my diet on a very regular basis. I try to have a cucumber salad. It's more like a pre-workout for me at times. But yes, I try. That's one thing I've learned, to eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of peas. Since right now they're in season, and my mother
That's it.
loves to put peas in everything.
Yeah. Well, it's
You
getting
know,
hot, so that's gonna go away soon. So yeah.
no, we are storing them. Don't worry. My mother stores them
Fantastic.
for the rest.
Freezing is the best way. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I have 3 refrigerators. Okay, putting out to the people out there. Okay, my only thing
Okay.
my mother finds out, I've told this on air. I think I won't get food for the next
And
three
I've
years.
seen them. I can vouch for that. I have seen those three refrigerators.
Okay, now,
All right.
okay, I have my last question. I don't want you to go too detailed in this, but I just want a simple yes or a no, a basic definition. You want the chopper to pass by?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
why I wrote these.
Okay, my last question is eating. Okay, how do I put this? One sec. Let me see.
This is when Pratik is trying to catch me off guard. I like this.
Eating disorder. Do you think this is hereditary? Do you think this is a trait that kids pick up from their parents, from the elders around? Because at times I see, some mothers would say, "Dekho, papa ne itna khaya, your father's had so much, even you should eat." Now, I'm trying to understand eating disorder. It's a very psychological this thing. Let's not get into the psychology part of it. But do you think it's hereditary?
To a certain extent, there are certain components of eating disorder that can be hereditary. One of the so there was a recent discovery that binge eating is there is a component on a specific gene that shows that we are either prone to binge eating or not prone to binge eating. So yeah.
So there is an aspect of it to be hereditary.
So there
We
is
will
an
go.
aspect of it.
Yeah.
To what extent? Right now, that's too big a topic for me to go into.
Yeah, I don't want to get in detail, because eating disorder would maybe be some other day, baby Gauri, and
Absolutely.
psychologist I could have, and then we could debate on this because it's a very, very
Absolutely.
psychologically connected this thing.
Yes.
Now, my last question, okay, again, this is
Mhm.
yes or no. Is laziness hereditary?
I actually had this question by a client today, and no, to a certain extent, but I think it's a learned behavior. As human beings, we are actually meant to be on the go. We are supposed to be active. Um, but is there a component of mental, it's a mental issue. I mean, it's a psychological, not mental, psychological issue that I would say there is some component there. um, Genetics, I am not sure, so I don't want to comment on that. I'll be very honest.
Well, so laziness being hereditary or no? Anyways, my mother thinks it is, so that is why I had asked. Anyway,
Oh wow, okay.
anyways, this has been an interesting session. So I think we should wind up at this. Guys, if you have any queries, if you have any doubts, if you have anything that you want to put across, do DM me, do DM Gauri. If there are any topics you want me to touch upon on
Absolutely.
fitness, health, nutrition, any aspect, do DM me. Whatever DMs I get, I'm trying to create content on that, trying to create questions, trying to bring people. And yes, I think Erin is very much on air listening to us. And I would be joining tomorrow towards India time night, towards early evening, I think in Switzerland. And
Hmm.
we are going to be doing a cooking session with Erin. So I'm going to be
Whoa,
putting
yeah.
out details. I hope you guys join because I am very
Hmm.
super excited about this. I'm trying my level best to bring a lot of people who are going to put in. You are also awesome, Erin. I think you're doing an amazing stuff.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so
Pilates and nutrition,
oh,
yes,
Pilates
nutrition,
and nutrition
definitely.
would that's already there, ma'am. We have already, working towards that. So there's lots on Pilates even we are going to be learning. But yes, tomorrow I'm going to be joined by Erin and we're going to do a live cooking session. So I hope everybody joins us. Do join us. I will be reposting that video also. And today's video would be reposted. I would be putting it out at night. If you guys like it, do like it, share it with your friends. I really like it when you share my videos with your friends and I get a review back. Do
Hmm.
comment, do let me know whatever changes you want, whatever suggestions you have. I'm always open to them.
Absolutely.
So for today, it is Gauri Gote and Hustling Muscles signing off the Hustling
Thank
Muscles
you.
show. Thank you so much for joining us, Gauri. I hope to see you soon again.
You
Thank you.
too.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening ahead, everybody.